So go ahead and read through these questions and think about what you need to be able to answer these questions. And place that in the chat. Need to come back and review that. And Kathleen, the students not watching recorded videos, that combination, and then we'll also talk about some ways to kind of help our learners watch videos or encourage that. Having those online discussions and the collaboration, Amy and I think somebody else also mentioned that. And you know, Naomi, the difficulty toggling between screens and adding comments and questions, you know, and that's something that I've done a ton of. I've participated in, and I've also attended. I've trained, and a lot of times when we're doing the discussion, you know, you don't necessarily do instruction while the discussion is happening, and so to kind of give that opportunity, so that students are not necessarily juggling back and forth. Another thing that I've seen, like the code.org they've done a really nice job of transitioning, because before they used to have like the PowerPoint that the presenter shared, and then they would have quote unquote shared notes, which the participants would use. And then as we went online, they merged them. And so you have the slides with the information, and then where the shared notes come into play, there's a slide there. And so the participants can either follow along on their own set of slides, or they can toggle. And so it's really, there's, you know, it's like, it's just, sometimes it's thinking about the packaging and how you package that. Michelle, I like that student insight. And one of the things I really emphasize is asking your students what's working and not working, and making sure we talk to our learners in a different way. So the online push and individualized self-paced learning, what it looks like in a meaningful and standard-driven method remains uncertain, yes. And that transition, yes, and that's why I'm appreciative of the post by Dr. Tucker, is because she does a really nice job of like helping us make those transitions. And so if we scroll on down, thank you guys for all of these really insightful comments, because these are all things that as we're moving our content online, March was a kind of panic, and then we learned as we went, and now it's like trying to do it more meaningfully. The building blocks of an online lesson are, she included these in her article or in her blog post, and then I've gone back and I've made a copy and I've edited it off of the original, because in the original she had a lot of different tools and was kind of all over the place, and not in a bad way. I mean, they're great tools, and if you're building a technology toolbox, it's a great way to do it. But right now, when we are trying to do a lot of things with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of a lot of new happening, it's really much easier if we can focus on a handful of things. And so one of the things that I really focus on as we're building lessons and moving content online is, you guys are using Google Classroom as your LMS. And so when I talk about, you know, doing some assessment, I will say, let's use Google Quizzes. When I talk about doing collaboration, I'll be like, let's talk about Google Questions or Google Slides, you know, so that we're staying within the Google platform. In terms of, you know, bringing in video, that is one of the things that Google does not really, I mean, they don't have a way for students to record themselves and to capture the audio or to show their thinking. And so that's where I bring in Flipgrid. But so when you are thinking about about creating content and creating lessons, this is where if you're already recording video, awesome, I love that. If you're not, pick something easy. And that's where like Flipgrid Shorts or Loom are really great starting points. How do you engage your students around that content? You can use Google Forms. I threw an Edpuzzle because a lot of teachers have been using Edpuzzle before COVID. And so I threw it in just because some teachers are already using it. But Google Forms can essentially do a very similar thing as Edpuzzle, because Edpuzzle allows you to embed questions into your video. Google Forms, you can you can put questions after your video. So not in the video, but you can still require questions. How can we hold those discussions? And so when we're thinking about our discussion, how do we want to do that? And so that's where, I saw you guys chatted about Zoom, or bringing in, what you did face to face. And then also the asynchronous, how can we have text-based? And this is where Google Classroom's questions, Google Slides really can support text-based discussion. And then finally, the video-based discussions. Flipgrid is such a great tool for that. This spring, I saw a lot of different implementations of Flipgrid, but one of my favorites was I had a senior, and he was an AP Lit, and he took, so his teacher had already been using Google Classroom before March. And so they'd been using it all year. That's where they got their assignments. That's where they turned their assignments in. So it was easy. But the classroom discussion was the challenge. And so they tried doing synchronous discussions on Zoom, but they had a hard time getting the kids to be able to show up at a time. And so they ended up moving them to Flipgrid, and it was awesome because the students had to respond to the conversation, and then they responded to each other. And so from the living room, my son's bedroom, it sounded like there were people in there having a conversation, and it worked out really well. So having that asynchronous video-based discussion, Flipgrid can really allow that. We're looking at research and exploration. We can still collaborate. We can still crowdsource. We can do that in our Google Classroom. We can do that in a shared online document, a shared slide deck, a Google Jamboard, or Flipgrid. So you have a lot of options there. The collaborative tasks, Google Suite is made for collaboration, which is nice. Practice and review. I did throw in a few outside names, mainly because I know a lot of you already use Quizzes, Kahoots, Quizlets, Khan Academy, etc. in your content. And so if you're already, using it, then, fine. But if you're not, start with Google Forms. It's a great way. But then when we get down to assessment, and one of the things that I hear so much from teachers is, really, really you have access. Everything right now is an open book test. It could be open neighbor, and so it's really changing. And so this is where potentially, Google Forms can run as a quiz, but Google, the writing, give them a writing prompt, or have outside of the box assessments using like Google Drawings or Google Slides. And then finally, we really want to encourage our students to think about their thinking and also get their feedback. So utilize those exit tickets or online journaling and blogging via Slides or Jamboard, just so that they have that outlet. And so these are just some resources that, to kind of help you as you're looking at the different components, think about how you can package them. And so Mary, you've got a great question. Is this going to be posted on the Google Classroom? And it is. And so this document right here is the document that's attached to this assignment, and the building blocks is embedded in this document. So you can get to it that way. So it's posted. One of the other things, and this is another, Dr. Tori Trust is a professor in Massachusetts, and she posted this, rethinking teaching 2020. And what I like about it is, it's not just online, it's not remote, it's not blended, it's not in person, it's like everything. And so it really kind of helps you think about, your year and what you're doing. And so if we pop in and look at that, she does a really nice, well, instead of a long lecture, think about mini lessons with active learning. And so this is one of those awesome opportunities to say, you know what, I'm going to start doing some short videos and have the students, do something, and then we can come back together and have those conversations. Instead of worksheets, using HyperDocs, WebQuests. And then as kind of going on through, instead of the high stakes tests, let's look at low stakes mastery. And so that will take away that, how am I going to assess their learning? One size fits all, we're looking at UDL. And that, in online UDL, you have so many more options, because when we were face to face, if we weren't a one-to-one situation, it was a lot more challenging to be able to provide audio or captions, or those types of things as we're going through. Having the live classes online, looking at low tech and asynchronous activities, and she has a really nice list further down. And then the connected learning and social activities. And I love this because one of the things that I really observed this spring with the students that lived in my house was they were making presentations, you guys, persuasive presentations on really weird topics, but they were citing sources. I'm like, you guys have way too much time in your hand. But they'd hold these Zoom sessions where they would present these PowerPoints, and they did all these. It was like super cool, but at the same time, it was like, wow, they really need that social. And so lots of different ideas here for building that social and providing those opportunities. One of the librarians I work with, and this was in an elementary school, but she created a virtual book club and had over 40 families participate. And my favorite is there was a father who was deployed, and his daughter, who was in the school district, he participated, and so he would be able to come in, virtually live to this book club. And it was like so awesome to be able to have that. And so even in, I mean, COVID or not, it was just a really great opportunity. And so lots of really great ideas for helping our learners build that community as we are moving into the fall. So other things when we think about, if we are moving online, 6 hours of school is not the same as 6 hours on Zoom. And we all know that. 6 hours on Zoom is like, what, 12 years? Keep high expectations. And this is one of those things where it's not, you can keep your high expectations, but please think about grace. Allowing our learners that extra support and more flexible deadlines rather than consequences. And so as we're working with our kids, making sure, and so many teachers that I worked with this spring were so amazing, because we, it's just challenging, and we're all learning new things. So definitely keep that in mind, those high expectations, but flexible. Abandoning the surveillance and control tools. You're not going to be able to prevent students from using their notebooks when they're taking tests if we're doing it all online. And so this is where, if we can build those relationships and respect and that trust, and also, utilizing those formative assessment tools, but in a more creative manner, we can hopefully, keep that learning happening. The other thing she really provides a nice collection of is some low tech learning. And so I think it's sometimes when we move everything, when we're moving things online, it is really hard to keep in mind that we can do things that are not online. And so keeping in mind the low tech activities, And then this Kids Have All the Right Stuff it is more of an elementary resource, but they have tons of writing ideas and writing prompts. And so it is worth checking out just because it's got some cool stuff. But so that is, like as we're moving towards, things to think about as you're moving towards moving your content online. So wait, that seems overwhelming. Yeah, it does. And this is where seriously, really try to use one tool for as many things as possible. This is where Google Slides, you can use Google Slides as the document that you present content on. You also can use Google Slides as a document for collaborative discussion. You can also use Google Slides for students to create on. And so it's like, you can do everything on Google Slides. You don't have to have multiple documents or multiple tools. Flipgrid is another one because we can record instructional videos on Flipgrid using Flipgrid Shorts. We have up to 10 minutes. You also can bring in the student voice using the Flipgrid topics and groups to be able to have conversations. And so you've provided options there. One of the other things that I really have been emphasizing a lot is making sure that you don't feel like you need to be the expert. We need to know the intent of the tool. So why would we use Flipgrid? To bring in student voice, to provide our students an opportunity to show their learning by sharing their screen or using their camera to show how they solved a math problem. But you don't necessarily need to know all the ins and outs. I mean, there's some really cool things in Flipgrid that I don't even think I know because I haven't tested them yet. So your learners will take the lead. Also, if your learners have an interest in something, let them follow that. One of my favorite teachers has done a lot of project-based activities, and he teaches math, and he had students who wanted to use Minecraft for a math project. And he's like, you know what, guys? I don't know anything about Minecraft. And so I don't care. I mean, your project sounds solid and everything, but I can't help you if you get stuck. And the cool thing was other students ended up, helping with this project, even though it wasn't their project, because they were like so intrigued and invested and they knew Minecraft. And but he was upfront and clear. He's like, I can see that, what you're doing, the intent of what you're doing fits with my standards, but I can't help you. And so you don't need to be the expert. Take that off your to-do list. And then finally, it doesn't have to be perfect. So as we're doing all this stuff, try things. And so there are assignments in the Google Classroom. Try them, do them, see what happens, look at the directions and say, yeah, I don't understand this. I'm gonna have to be clearer, or I'm going to have to do this differently for my students. Because try it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Ask your learners, get that feedback. So Michelle, you noted, get the student insights. Ask your learners what they need, what works for them. Ask them at the end of assignments, what worked for you in this assignment, what didn't, just to make sure that we're building that communication. And then finally, remember, we're all learning. Right now, this is just so much learning is happening. It just feels like we are in some sort of a time traveling thing, because we're all learning. You're learning, your students are learning. It's new for all of us. And so just provide that grace. And yes, Sean, it does. It feels like we're first year teachers again. Yes. I mean, it just feels like you're starting all over. And so I really, that's why it's like, you guys are such good teachers. I've worked with so many of you, and it's like I can see you rocking this because you're really good teachers, but trying to figure out how to repackage and do things is so hard. So I hear you. All right. So that's kind of my my first thing. So one of the things that really has gotten so much easier. Even since I've started really working, video has gotten so much easier to create, share. You know, you have options where things are not online. I mean, they're online immediately. You don't have to upload things. You can just share them out. Um, and the videos are so easy to create. Plus, you can add bells and whistles really easily. So in terms of video, you can use it for instruction, instructions, that connection, and also communication. Mary, yes, my brain is hurt all summer. I always think COVID or just work. All right. So video provides a really great connection to the teacher. And one of the things that I keeps coming to the forefront is that students really they miss you, and that connection. And so even if you do use like Khan Academy or other videos that you've found, providing a short video with just you saying, hey guys, today we're going to do XYZ and this is how I want you to do it, and you know, watch this video and watch out for this part, you know, that helps with that connection. It gives the students an opportunity to rewatch content. I teach the flipped classroom class, and one of my favorite videos ever, a family and consumer science teacher submitted how to thread the sewing machine. And you know, the more I think about it, it's like those are those kinds of things that I bet you she repeats that 100 million times a year, because you know, I don't remember how to thread my own sewing machine if I take too long of a break between sewing. So anyways, that, you know, that opportunity to rewatch the content. Also, if I missed an instruction, I can come back and I can rewatch the content. It provides the teacher with less repetition, but it also gives everybody the opportunity to hear the message. And so many of the resources are providing closed captions right now too, and so you're able to provide that closed caption opportunity. So what are we going to use videos for? You can do introducing new content, sharing directions, or asynchronous conversations. And so you have lots of options. And this is where we come back to our participants tab. And so I'm going to clear out our answers from last time. And I want to know, in your participants tab, who's made videos for their kids in the past? I want to know who's made videos for the classroom. And if you have, I want in the chat, or you can unmute, tell me what you've used to make videos out of. Awesome. I'm seeing Screencastify. You shoot on your phone. Screencastify. Use YouTube. Ooh, you edit with iMovie. Nice. Powtoon. Oh, fun. Your phone, your YouTube. GoPro and phone. Both are cumbersome. Yeah, iMovie is a free app. Yep. If you have an iDevice, it's a free app. That's okay, Mary. You recorded once, and that's a start. That is like the gateway. All right, so I've got 7 of you that said you've recorded in the participants, and 11 of you said you haven't, and that leaves a lot of you that haven't responded there. But so a lot of you are using your phone to make videos, and then where do you upload them? If you use your phone, where do you put them? Google Drive, YouTube. Nice. So Google Drive. So one of the things when we use our phone or if we use Zoom, you record, it saves to your computer, and then you have to put it somewhere. One of the nice things about some of the resources we're going to look at next, it gives us that capability to, if they save immediately to the cloud, so you don't have to do anything with them, and then you can share them really easily out to Google Classroom. So quick question. My next question that I want to know is I want to know who has used Flipgrid? Yes, no in the participants. So in the participants window, go ahead and click on the participants, the people, and then yes, no. So, oh my gosh, 4 of you have used Flipgrid and a lot of you haven't. So those of you that have, do you want to drop in the chat or do you want to unmute and talk about how you've used Flipgrid? Oh, my 4 is now 3. Oh, students created how-to videos. Did they do it in German? Of course. Okay. Well, you never know. Yes, of course they did. I love that. What a great way to bring the language in. Yes, I can tell you how I do that. Um, Connie. Connie wants to know how I'm resetting the responses. So let me find that and I'll show you how I do that. So when we're doing the feedback, this is something that has to be turned on in your Zoom settings. And so it's called the nonverbal feedback that shows up in the participants panel. And so that comes over here. And when I want to clear it all, I just click clear all and then it resets it and I can go again. But it tallies up for me so I can see at a glance exactly how many of you have done something or not. So super fun. So yeah, thanks for asking. And we'll dive a little bit more into this afternoon when we're in the online meetings session. All right, so I love using Flipgrid for 2 things. So in May or in March, right after everybody moved to online, Flipgrid launched their shorts, which essentially allow you to record videos for instruction. And so it's not like the Flipgrid we know and love, where there may be a video in there that you've made, but you're asking your students for feedback. Flipgrid Shorts, you can use them for instructions, demos, how-to. It's free. You have up to 10 minutes. Stores on the cloud. Works on your iOS, your Android, your computer. So it also works on Chromebooks. You can screencast, or you can record video, or you can record something. If you're using your phone, I've had teachers use it for special ed to record like how to, like use the stove, those kinds of things. And so Flipgrid Shorts are like amazing. And then if you already know how to use the Flipgrid camera, you can also very easily use the Flipgrid for quick video instruction and student video response. It gives your students that student voice. It's that asynchronous conversations. Students don't need to create an account. They do have to access with either their Google or their Microsoft account, but here again, it's entirely free. The other nice things is you have extensions for Chrome or Edge. You also, it's fully integrated with Wakelet, but it also is really you can share with Google Classroom really easily. So easy to use across platforms. So let's take a quick look at, well, let me just back up real quick, sorry. So the couple other the platforms that I dropped in here as examples, just because they store on the Screencastify and Loom both save to the cloud. Screencastify is a Chrome extension. There's a free and a paid version. The free version, you are limited to 5 minutes, so that may be a drawback for some of you. But you can capture your screen, your tab, or webcam, and the video is auto-saved to Google Drive. And so that's one of the nice things is they save to Drive so you can share them out really easily. And then Loom is, I hadn't known about Loom until this spring, and now it's like, it's one of my favorites because you can, you know, do all the things that we do with Screencastify or Flipgrid. There's a Chrome extension or an app, and so you can download the app to your computer. There's the free and paid version, and so this spring they gave away their paid version, their pro version, and then they decided instead of like everybody else saying, you know, it ends in June or ends in September, they've extended it indefinitely, and so it's always free now. So you have the pro version, which means you have unlimited storage and unlimited video length, and you also have an unlimited number of videos, and so that's pretty awesome. Videos auto-saved to the cloud. And then there's a few other options that I threw in here. Zoom is one that you do, if you do make the recording, you have to record, you have to upload it to either YouTube or OneDrive or Google Drive, but the rest of them are all cloud-based. So let's take a quick look at Flipgrids a little bit more closely so that you can see how easy it is to use and how easy it is to create your account. So when I click on Flipgrid, when we first come to Flipgrid, you will see that, you know, in the center of the screen, it says enter a join code. So if I was a student and I was coming here, this is what I would do. I would just enter a join code. As an educator, the first time I would do the sign up, and it's going to ask you to sign up with either your Google Classroom or your Microsoft account. And I generally sign up with one or the other. And I've already done this for my K-12. And so when I click on it, it's going to automatically log me in. So once you've created your account, now it's going to pop up and you're in Flipgrid and you are ready to go. So at the top of the screen, you'll see your options for discussion. And this is where it'll invite you when you first create your account to get started and create your first topic. And your first topic can be anything. And so you can make a topic, you create one, or you can use one that somebody else has already created in the discovery area. And then there's also groups. And so groups are what you can put multiple topics in. And so like as a teacher, I would use groups. I would make a group for each class or each class period. And then you can copy topics across, so you don't have to recreate the topic wheel necessarily, but that way your groups will kind of stay organized. But you can, if you wanted to have a group that was all of the, all of the German classes together, you could do that, and to be able to have that conversation across classes too. So what we're really here to focus on first is the shorts, because the shorts is what gives us the opportunity to make a really quick video without having to do anything. And so here I just made a quick sample video. It's 12 seconds, and you'll see once I click on it, all I need to do is I can copy it, or I can send it out very easily to any one of these platforms. And so if I share it out to Google Classroom, I can choose my class. I can choose the action. And so here I can say I want it to be an assignment, a question, an announcement, or material. And then once I've done that, now it's going to come up and it's going to say, so I can add it in, I can assign it to any students that I want, and then I can drop it into whatever topic I want. And so here I can schedule it to be posted, or I can just post it out. And so now it's posted to my class. And so when I go to my classwork, because I picked it as material, you see that there it is. It's an explanation of today's work. And there's the Flipgrid short. So super easy to share out a short, even easier to make a short. And so if we go in and look at them, I'm going to close this. I do have to shut off my video to be able to use this. So remember, if you want to play around, you have to shut off your video. So if I want to create one, I click on create. It's going to pop up and it's going to tell me I have 10 minutes to record. And this is a thing that I love is there's 3 dots beside the camera, and those 3 dots allow me to either upload a clip. So if I have something that I've already recorded elsewhere, I can upload a clip. I just had pointed out to me, if you record it on an iPhone, it will require you to convert it to a MP4 format before you can do anything. I can mirror my video, I can turn off my audio, and then I can record on my screen. So super easy. I can now say I'm going to capture my screen. My video shows up in the lower right. I can X out of that. And now I can pick my entire screen. And so this looks a lot like sharing your screen for Zoom. And so it's really nice because we're already used to that. And then I can now go in and pick an application or a Chrome tab. And so I can go in and I can say, okay, we'll share that one. This is the schedule for Douglas's Google Classroom training. So it'll allow me to review my recording. I always sound dorky. And then you can go in and either trim it. And so if I click on it, I can trim it if I want to. And so I can say, okay, I'm going to confirm that. And then I can also add more. And so I have the capability to go back and continue adding more content up until 10 minutes. If I click on next, it's going to ask me to take a selfie. And I don't want to take a selfie because that would just be horrible. So you can do options. And then I can select a frame. And this is what I do because I really like to see what my videos are about a little bit. And so I can use the slider to pick a frame, which I don't really have much variety here. Then I can say next. And now I can add in some fun effects. So this is where I can add in my text. And then I can say next. And it's ready to go. If it's a longer one, it may take it a few more minutes to spin and process, but this is a really short one, so it doesn't take it hardly any time at all. So now I can copy this or I can send it to Google Classroom. So very, very easy to to manage this and to utilize it in your classroom. So that is Flipgrid Shorts. The other thing in Flipgrid that is super awesome is their discovery library. And so if you're looking for topics as you're getting started with Flipgrid and you're like, well, whatever am I going to teach? You can come in and find topics that other people have already created. So there's stuff that's they have partners, and so across the top we have a handful of their partners that are featured right now. There's always a wonder of the day, and so we can go in and look at the wonder of the day. But then you go down here and you see all of their partners, and so like Breakout EDU, even though that's a subscription resource, they have provided free breakouts that you can use in Flipgrid. Wonderopolis, the News Literacy Project, so tons of different resources. Here we have trending topics. And then there's just for me. And then as I scroll on down, we have our August collections. And so these are collections that have been created just for August. And then as I get all the way down to the bottom, I have all of these topics. And so I can sort by subject, I can do audience, or I can just search. And so some of the cool things like foreign language, this is an awesome opportunity for language learning because you'll actually be speaking the language, speaking and listening. And it also fits in really well with, you know, anything, because you can go in and see what your options are. If I find a topic that I like, and so I'm going to grab the wonder of the day. If I find a topic that I like, I can say view topic. It's going to pop up and it's going to tell me, you know, a little bit about it, and then it's going to give me many times integration notes. I'm going to say I'm going to add this topic, and here I don't have a group for the high school, so I'm going to say it's an individual topic right now. Here we are. It's ready to go. I can edit it. I can turn on video moderation. I can change the length, the recording time up to 10 minutes. So I have everything from 15 seconds to 10 minutes. I can change the media. I can change how students access, and I can add more attachments if I want to. I have up to 9 different attachments. I can also make this hidden, which means student cannot see it. And I can schedule it to post if I want to. And so if I wanted to set up a whole, you know, semester or quarter of content of topics, I could do that and hide them and schedule them to come out when I wanted them to. Topic features, you can allow students to download and share. You can allow them to, you know, do selfies and the videos and, you know, all that kind of stuff. They have options. You can turn these on and off. With the moderated, the student videos will not publish until you've published them. So that's kind of nice. So once it's published, at this point now, I can share it just like I shared my short. I can share it out to Google Classroom. So I can pick my classroom. I can post it to the stream by making an announcement. And now I can say, here's the wonder of the day, and post it. And it'll show up on the stream so that you guys can respond to the wonder of the day. So it's that simple to get going with your Flipgrid. So if I pop back over to our classroom and look at our stream, you're going to see, once I refresh it, here's the wonder of the day. When I click on this as a student, now this is all I'm asked. I'm not asked to create an account. I'm asked to join with Google. I can click on choose the account. Here I am. Now I can record a response and away we go. And so it's super cool to be able to really easily provide that engagement. And if your learners don't want to record themselves, you know, obviously we just saw that we can record our screen. I have students that have, you know, recorded a piece of paper. You know, it's really more their voice. We don't necessarily need to see them. it's just such an opportunity to be able to talk about what they're thinking and to share their thinking. So how can students comment on each other's posts? So let me go back to, so this is the account that this is the account I use, and so it's got more stuff in it, obviously. So let me go down. So depending on how the topics are set up, if I want, and these are all frozen, so I can't do anything with them. Let me go back and see if I can find one that isn't frozen. So if I want students to comment, we need to make sure that the video comments are on. And so that one's cool. So they're on. So if I want to come in and look at a video, oops. That's not what I wanted. Just as I need to get it out in public. So just a second, I don't remember how I set this one up. Oh, you guys, I'll show you, I'll give you some time to play and then I'll show you how to comment, because I don't have one that's set up to comment on right now because of how we've done things. But I'll show you how you can comment after you've had a chance to play with it, okay? But so it's so the students don't need to create accounts, which is huge. If they have the app on their device, they can use their device. If they're using a computer, they can use the computer. The only drawback is they do need a camera to be able to record. It won't let you go forward if you don't have the camera. So just so you know that if you don't have a camera, that can be a challenge. So looking back at the resources, so that is kind of a option, one of the options. And so what I'd like to do right now is to give you guys a few minutes to play. I really encourage you to go in and check out Flipgrid, try making a short, exploring the discovery, just getting in there and looking around a little bit, because it is very friendly once you get in and start looking around, but you do have to go in and look around. If you're already a pro on Flipgrid, go ahead and check out Screencastify or Loom or one of the other ones that you're not familiar with to see if that would be something that you'd be interested in. We'll just stay here on Zoom. I will be here to answer questions, and so you can drop them in the chat, you can unmute. If you are making a video, you'll have to turn off your camera so that, because otherwise it won't allow, most of the resources will not allow you to use your camera on Zoom and on like Flipgrid. So you'll just have to turn off your camera, but you can stay on. So we'll take about 15 minutes to just kind of go in and check out some of the video recording resources. Yes, we're going to do some Zoom stuff this afternoon. So we'll be looking at Zoom this afternoon. Questions about any of the video resources or creating videos? And Elke, you asked a little bit of, what's the difference between Screencastify and Loom? You have longer videos with Loom if you're doing the free option, and Screencastify saves on Google Drive. And so Loom saves in the cloud, it's just not the Google Drive cloud. So I guess it just kind of depends on, I've had a lot of people really like Screencastify or really like Loom, and they've said that after they've used Screencastify and then they use Loom, it's a lot easier. Ooh, Leon, let's see what you shared, Leon. Oops. Ooh, this one says it's a bad gateway, which is not nothing. There we go. We're good. No, we're not good. Hmm. Ooh, there we go. And so this is what your students are going to see. They will see this join with Google or join with Microsoft. They will not have to log in or create an educator account. And then I generally join with Google because I'm logged into my Google Classroom. And now I can watch the prompt. Ooh, I love it. This is awesome. So there's a prompt that we can listen to, and now, and then I can answer record my answer to the following: Why is energy needed to change ice to water? Ah, that's awesome. Thank you. And Elke shared Devin's video, which I love. He's like so excited, which is so cool. So super fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited that you guys are sharing and doing. So to answer the question about how do we make a comment, I can now model that a little bit better. I unfroze something finally. So I'm in as a student and I'm seeing so I'm in as a student and there's all these responses and I can record a response, which would just be me recording a response, or I can go in and I can watch a video. And when I watch the video, here I can record a response and that will be a response to her video. I can also add a written comment if I want because I let it be wide open. So I let people either write a comment or record a comment. So that would be how we would have a video conversation going back and forth. So okay. All right. So love this. Any other questions, comments about videos before we move on to the next thing? So a couple more things. As you're making videos, a couple things to keep in mind are keep them short. We're looking at 1 to 1.5 minutes per grade level. So that really doesn't give you a ton of time to make a video. So if you can make multiple shorter videos, much better for rewatching, much better for the attention span, all that. Keep your background distraction free if possible, just because it helps your students focus on the content and not, what's happening in your background. Utilizing clear visuals. And that's one of the things that I notice when I teach the flipped classroom class. Like sometimes people will hold, they'll hold up a whiteboard and it's so far away that, I can't really see what they're trying to share, what they're showing. So making sure your visuals are clear. And then making sure your videos do not have to be perfect. This is you talking to your students. And so providing them with your voice and how you explain things is good enough. I feel really bad when in the flipped class, people will be like, yeah, I've made, this is like the 10th video I've made. And I'm like, oh, and I know some of it is practice. Some of it is you do need to kind of practice to get to know your software. But at the same time, like, they're like, it's just going to have to be good enough. It's not perfect. And it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, perfect is really hard. And how much time do you want to spend editing? Even, I mean, you have to think about that too. So done is good. Plan a short script or outline, and then practice, practice, practice your software. And that's where, like I gave you a little bit of time here to kind of play around with things, but definitely get in and practice it, because that's going to make a huge difference. The next thing that, and this is one of those things that I hear some schools do a great job of this, and other schools they don't. Same thing with teachers. We assume that our students can just know how to watch videos because, oh, they watch YouTube all the time. But watching something to learn versus watching something for entertainment is two different things, as you guys know from all the learning that we've had to do this last 6 months. And so practicing with them how to watch a video is going to be really important. So utilizing guided notes, into teaching them that they can stop and start a video, stop and take notes, start it again. They can rewatch pieces of it. You have that capability. And so taking the time to help them will let them fly as they go through. Another thing that's a really huge thing, and I mean, I always thought I was just kind of, I don't know, maybe you guys don't think this, but I'm the only one in the world who doesn't know how to take notes. And I was with working with a group of librarians, and one of them, or they were sharing that they'd never been taught how to take notes. And it was really interesting because we were doing a note-taking workshop, and so it was really, they were talking about how they're going to take it back to their school, etc. But so helping our learners take notes on what they're watching will carry them far. So Cornell Notes is one of the ones I like. We use it in Flipped Classroom, and there's a number of resources here to help explain it. I really like this sample because it gives us a nice outline. You've got the cue column where we can go in and jot down our question, our quick notes, cue words. We have the note-taking column, and then finally we have the summary. And I really like that we include that, because that's part of that metacognition, that thinking about our thinking, that what did I learn. And so if you have them do that summary, that can be a really big part of helping them explain their thinking and what they've learned. You can provide them guided notes by giving them the cues on the left-hand side, so that when they're taking notes, they have a better handle on what they should be looking for. And so there's ways to scaffold them into doing the Cornell notes. Another option is the sketch notes, which is another one that I really like. I can't take sketch notes live, but I can take them. I can take them afterwards. And so sketch notes is a really nice way, and a lot of times students will really gravitate towards that because it's that creative outlet. And then finally, graphic organizers. Ditch That Textbook has amazing Google resources. And so first of all, don't recreate your wheel. Look and see what he has, make copies of it, and go. Also, his website has been just hammered the last couple weeks, and so it's up and down, and I think we're down today. So anyways, but there is graphic organizers, and you can get one for Cornell Notes, but they have he has tons of other ones also. And then finally, so teachers, I have a lot of teachers that will have students turn their Cornell notes in. So when they flip their classroom, one of the things that they do is the students either turn in a copy of their notes or they turn them in. But that can kind of help with that reinforcement of we're taking the notes while we watch our videos. How do we assess what we've learned in Google Classroom or in the videos? One of the ways that I really like in Google Classroom is you can embed your video into a quiz, and so the students have to answer questions before they can move on or turn it in. And so the video is with them, and the questions are there. And so until they can say they're done, they have to use Google Classroom. Another option in Google Classroom is the question assignment. And so if I make an assignment and I call it a question, I can say, what's the main point of this video, question mark. Watch the video and answer the question. Respond to 2 classmates. Okay, oops. I can't spell classmates. Okay, so now I'm going to click out of YouTube, and I normally have a video that I normally come prepared with my video. I already picked out, you can search them. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to say add. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over on the right hand side of the page, and I'm going to have it be an ungraded assignment. I'm not going to give it a due date. I'm going to drop it down under today's topics. I am going to allow students to reply to each other, but I'm not going to allow students to edit their answers. So now when I post this question, it posts down under our assignments here, so I can copy the link and I'll post that in the chat. And then I need somebody who is willing to, am I not sharing my screen? I am sharing my screen. Is anybody else not seeing my screen? Okay. Jennifer, what are you seeing? You're seeing me. Aren't you lucky? I'm sorry. Why don't you try, let's see, do you see the screen share in a small window? Can you click on that? Awesome. Okay. That's good. I was like, oh my, you don't want to see me. So we're going to, but I do need somebody who's willing to answer a question, who's willing to answer the question from the student side. So is anybody willing to share their screen with us right now and do that? So I've stopped sharing my screen. Thanks, Sarge. Awesome. Okay, so we are looking at a question assignment, and this is one of the things that I see a lot of confusion with people the first time they do it. Your answer, do you want to type your answer in, Sarge? Awesome. So your answer goes in your work bubble area, not down in the class comments. And so I do see a lot of that, maybe. So you're going to turn it in. Okay, awesome. Now you'll notice that he can see his classmates' answers. And so you can click on classmates' answers and see what your classmates are responding. And so you're the only one who's answered so far, but as your classmates start to respond, you'll be able to see their answers populate in here. And so this is a great way to not only have a video, have students watch a video, but also have some discussion in there. You can say that students can't respond to each other, and then you would just have your answer and that would be it. But I do like the option, because with this it can bring in that discussion and that collaboration component, and you have that capability. So thank you so much for sharing your screen.
Anytime.
All right, so that's a question, and so that's one way. The other way, like I said, is you can go in and use the forms. I also pointed out a couple of other options. If you don't use them already, I would not look at them until like you're all good. So collaboration was another thing that was brought up early on. And how can we have authentic collaboration when we are asynchronous, synchronous, online, face-to-face? How can we do that? And so one of my favorite new tools is Jamboard. And so I'm really curious. So if you guys would humor me and click on the participants tab and do yes, no, if you've used Jamboard before, because it just got turned on in your district last week. All right, so I've got the the no's are winning right now. So those of you that have used Jamboard, do you want to share on the chat how you've used it? You used it on Thursday, okay? Oh, Kathleen. So at least you've gotten to use it. So Jamboard is part of the Google Suite. It has to be enabled by your district, but it's like a whiteboard plus. And so lots of different resources that you can do with it. And so I linked you out to the Teacher Center, but then this curated list is mind-blowing because it gives us some really great introduction slides with lots of examples. In addition to, as you keep on going, there's even more examples of how you can use Jamboard. But I'm going to pop into these slides real quick. Hypothetically, not sure what I did there. And I'm going to take us down to samples real quick, and then we'll move. I will go into Jamboard. So when we're looking at Jamboard, some of the things that, when we're moving content online, trying to have our resources that we're, like the graphing and the drawing, the creating equations and doing science and all of that stuff with things we did face to face, we did on paper. How do we do it online? Jamboard really gives us a great option to do that. And so you have all these samples here for math. And then I love the ELA samples because, you can do some highlighting and annotating. You can create a book. You can, just so many different things that you can pull into here. The mind maps and brainstorming. And so while a lot of us use Padlet for these types of things, I really like that, we can draw and rearrange, and you have some different options that you don't have in Padlet, plus this is free. Science, I love these. I love these diagrams. I love the drag and drop of arrows. I love the lab report. I mean, it's just like so many things that we can do with this. A check-in, quick morning check-in. Just drop your check and a feeling. Here we have some elementary ideas, and and sometimes you just need those for a brain break. And then as we keep going, look at this: music, art, PE. I love this PE example. That's the technique shown here. What do you notice? I just think what a great way to drop an image in and be able to have that conversation and have that information. And so those are all examples in the slides that are linked, introduction slides under the Getting Started for Jamboard. And if we go to Jamboard, the easiest way to get to Jamboard is through the waffle, because that is where it lives. And so if you go to the waffle and you scroll on down, you should see Jamboard. And then once you're in Jamboard, you can see all of the different activities and sounds and stuff that are going on. And so if I go down here, I can click on the orange plus, and that creates a jam. And they've just recently added lots of options. And so we can now add a circle, or we can add shapes in addition to text, but we can add an image by either searching it or uploading it. We can also add a sticky note, which means I can ask a question and people can answer it this way. And boom, now we have a sticky note that I've asked a question, and now people can come back and answer that. I do also have the ability to draw with the pen. And so you have some really great options. So a couple of other things with Jamboard, you know, when we talk about how can we share it with our students and what can we do with it, there's the three dots, the more actions when you're in Jamboard. I mean, I can make a copy of it, but I can also download it as a PDF, or I can save the frame as an image. And so to be able to reserve this, it is similar-ish to Pear Deck. I would say that it's more like a whiteboard than Pear Deck is. So it's different, and it's free, which is nice. So I'm going to, so what I'll do with this one is I will go to Google Classroom, and in the stream we'll do a real quick announcement with a Jamboard, and you guys can answer the question. And so and then so it's part of Google Drive. So once I create it, I can come over and I can find it in my Google Drive. So that's really nice. And I can just add it and go. Because I didn't do this as an assignment, I'm going to need to go back in and change its sharing, because I want you guys to be able to edit it. If I did it as an assignment, I would have been able to say, you know, everybody, students can all edit it, but I just need to change the sharing over here to say that anybody can edit it. So no biggie. Okay, so now you should all be able to edit it wildly. So answer the question and see what, so it's in the announcements, and I will actually drop the announcement in the chat too, so you don't have to bounce back and forth. So. So you will notice that sticky notes stack on each other, and so I see you guys are unstacking, so that's awesome. But they do tend to go to that one spot, and then they all stack, and people are like, I lost my note. No, you didn't. It's just stacked. Oh, the mind mapping. You guys are the first group that has tilted their post-it notes this much. I love it. You're super fun. Yes. So if you want them to be heard but anonymous, you'll want to do something like this where it's anybody can edit. If you want them, when I share this out in the classroom where, everybody can edit, you guys you're logged into Classroom. And so I can't see like after you've moved away, but I can see when you're typing where you're at and what you're doing. So much fun, you guys. How could you use Jamboard in soccer? What a great question. So one of the things I'm going to tell you guys, just so you know, because there's a whole bunch of you in this Jamboard, if don't, I mean, you can, I don't care, but if you hit clear frame, it'll erase it for everybody and there is no revision history. So if you do hit clear frame, it will make it all go away. And so that would be one of those things where, I mean, it's part of the risk. I typically wouldn't have this many people in a Jamboard. I typically would have smaller groups, and that's part of it. But it is a really fun way to have the interaction and be able to share ideas and images and draw things. And oh my gosh, you guys are just so creative. Awesome. Okay, so that was Jamboard. You did a demo. Awesome. So when we come back and look at the Jamboard resources, I really do encourage you to look at these resources and see if there's anything else. Yes, and so here, so what I've done with Jamboard, I've done a couple of different things with Jamboard. Actually, let me pop back over to me over here. This is where having so many accounts is like awesome and a blessing and a curse. So some things that I've done with Jamboard is I've done things like we've talked about flipped videos, and so I've said I've had them watch a video, and then I've said click on the Jamboard and talk about the video. This one here, we were doing a primary sources professional development. And so this one is an image. So I put the image on here and we had the questions across the top. What do you observe? Oh, these are just demo colors. Never mind, I can delete those. What evidence supports that observation, and then what questions are generated. And so they had practiced this. I mean, so this was something we'd done together, and then I put them into breakout rooms, and I actually gave them the option to pick whatever picture they wanted. And so even though there was groups of 4 in a breakout room, but they were also, I mean, so there could have been 8 people on picture C if more than one group picked it. And so yes, I will, like this one I just said which, I gave them 4 or 5 pictures and I let them go. Let's go back and look at this activity. This activity is our Candygram activity, and so each candy has a question associated with it, and so I have a slide that I, we'll talk about breakout rooms after lunch. So I'll talk about breakout rooms after lunch. So I had a slide with each of the candies on it, and then the participants picked their candy and then went into the slide and answered the question. And so it was actually really fun. That was a really, really fun one. And I can clean it up and I can give you that one entirely after lunch if you'd like that one, because it's fun. Of course, I didn't have real candy, but life goes on. So those are kind of some of the ways that I've managed using using them. So a lot of slides is kind of my home, and then and sometimes I do the same question to keep my interaction down to a manageable level. Other times I do more of a choice thing and people are popping in and out. So yeah, so I do make different Jamboards for different things. But I love it for the flexibility and the collaboration that it gives us, because it's just such an awesome opportunity. Google Slides is another one that I use a ton anymore, and I used to not love Google Slides. It used to be kind of one of those things where I was like, yeah, I don't really love it. But so this is, let's see, this is a sample of a worksheet that would have been, this was in a Google, this is in a code training, and participants each get a copy of this as a physical, it was a physical book. And so they were supposed to take notes in this workbook. Well, when we moved it online, we needed to have, it's harder to have that conversation. And so we ended up, I took this and I turned it into this. And so now it's a collaborative. I had actually people in breakout rooms, and each breakout room had a slide, had slides with the questions that we had over here. We had the questions. And so now we talked about here, this is, Jessica, and she was doing this lesson, and this other person was doing this lesson. And we're able to go through, and they were able to answer the questions, and then we could come back and have discussions. Ideally, these two participants don't have similar lessons. Ideally, they would have similar lessons, but so I took something that was very individual and by yourself, and I turned it into something that was in a breakout room that, yeah, they were still looking up the, for their specific lesson, but because we had this collaborative document, they could see what each other was typing and be able to work through that. These are slides that I use a lot with Google Classroom Training. And so it's you insert a screenshot of your classroom, and then we've talked a little bit about your description, how you plan to organize, what questions, what are you excited about. And so then everything is, each student has their own slide, and I can just go in and look at them. And so that's really easy. This is another one from that primary source workshop. It had been face-to-face and we moved it online. And so I had to really think about what I could do to keep that interaction that we typically did in small groups, face-to-face with paper, how we could keep it going. And so we did the primary source analysis, but we did it online. And so this crew they already knew what they were doing. And so what they did is there was a three-part breakout room. So I sent them to the breakout room, and they were to look at the image that was attached that was with their room. And so it's this one. They were to observe, reflect, and question. And then we came out and we talked about that. And one of the instructions I gave them was to highlight the name of the person that will share. And so while they're in the room, they made that decision. And so it wasn't something that when you come out and you're like room 2, and it's just, crickets, because room 2 doesn't know how to, room 2 doesn't know who's going to talk. So then I sent them back and I gave them some more information. And so with that more information, they were able to really answer their questions, but now they wanted, they came up with more questions. So we came back, another person shared, and then I sent them back for kind of a reflective activity. Like, and this is, and this was adult learners, but I was like, what did you learn? How did come, and this was they were looking at one picture, whereas the whole group, there was actual collection. And so when they came back and shared, it was you see here, it was a richer experience because everybody, there was more to the story. And then this was fun for me because they were like, one of the students was like, hey, can I take this and use this on Monday? I'm like, of course you can. And so he was really excited about it. But it was really a great way to bring in the visuals and the discussion in the small group. I loved that I could look through the slides as they were in breakout rooms and say, looks like room 2 is having trouble getting started, and I could join that breakout room and have that discussion. And so this is how I use collaborative slides in a synchronous live setting, but you wouldn't have to be live. You wouldn't have to be synchronous. You could do it in an asynchronous setting also. But so those are a couple of ideas that you can use. When we come back after lunch, we're going to be doing, creating online meetings and great online meetings. So we'll be looking at Zoom and how you can do this type of thing in Zoom, but we'll also spend a little bit of time and look at some of the ways that we can do some more, bring in that choice and that blended and things like that, because a lot of that will fill in. You'll want to use it in your online meetings. So that pretty much wraps up our session for this morning. So questions, comments, concerns as we break for lunch? You guys are really quiet. It happens to the best of us. All right. Well, we'll be back in an hour, same Zoom space, same Zoom spot, and we'll kind of pick it up. But we're going to do, I'm excited because we're going to talk about Zoom meetings and just online meetings and the things that we can do. So have a great lunch, and I will see you in an hour.